It is the final word. England, Sri Lanka daily. Adam Collins with you. Cam Ponsonby with me. He was at Lords. He's now at home. We're here for Westfield, London, Westfield, Stratford City. More extra, less ordinary. His mate Gus Atkinson still batting. Tell us about the day in 30 seconds.
It's 358 for 7. England sent into bat by Sri Lanka, who won the toss and in beautiful conditions said, you know what, we're going to have a roll. And at 216 for 6, you thought, you know what, Sri Lanka, fair play, you've got this right. We were all wrong, we're the idiots. But a Joe Root century and a Gus Atkinson 74 knocked out and counting means that England finished day one in the driving seat and ahead at the end of day one.
Perfectly summed up. Inside 30 seconds, perhaps for the first time ever, with you co-hosting this show, Cam. You've normally got the brats about you with these things. So Root 143, his 33rd Test century, his 16th since the start of 2021, where he's converted wonderfully compared to, I suppose, the affliction he had before, if you can even call it that, of getting to 50 and not going on quite so often. He's the very opposite of that these days, and England are better for it. But why don't we start at the end of the day with the imposing partnership building between Gus Atkinson and Matty Potts, with Atkinson 74, Potts on 20. They've completely neutralised any advantage that Sri Lanka may have extracted through the middle portion of the day. Second new ball, when Root falls at 308, you feel like, well, you know, that's a 78th over. If they go bang, bang there, there's a world where they bowl
Correct.
England out this evening. Instead, Atkinson, I mean, you've seen him bat as well, probably
From
more
the
than
other
most.
end, mate. Don't worry about it.
More than most. Tell me about the way, like, what was Gus like when he was playing twos? Give us a sense of the play. Did you ever foresee him being a chance to make a Test century at Lords?
Again, very, very awkward to talk about your close relationship with someone who's left you on blue ticks. So it's fine. We always need to caveat it. But mate, he was always kind of meant to be. Everyone knew he was much better than everyone else, and so, but he was always predominantly a bowler. Naturally, his batting talent was kind of there as well. I think he scored like a first team 50 in a friendly when he was like 15 or something like that.
Right.
But if he wasn't at Surrey, the whole point is that he'd be wanting to be an out-and-out all-rounder, batting a 7 or trying to even push the bat in the top 6 and just be that kind of complete player. As it happens, he always bats 9 for Surrey, sometimes as low as 10. He might have even been at 11, but I don't even know if he's batted as high as 8. This is, to be honest, Atkinson at 8, with Wokes at 7 feels potentially one too high, but if it was Jamie Smith at 7, it feels like it could be okay. Nevertheless, this was meant to be England's like soft underbelly, where it's like, okay, it's 210 for 6, can they crack on? But Gus has this in him, and not from me having seen him play as a 17-year-old, but seeing him play for Surrey. There was a match last year where he started slog sweeping seamers. It was Michael Hogan.
It was.
He started dumping him into the stands at the Oval. And I spoke to him a week or so after that, and I was like, have you practiced that? And he was like, mate, I've genuinely never played that shot in my life. I just fancied it in the moment. So he's a wonderfully talented batter. And when he scores his runs, it'll be like today where he's gone basically a runner ball, 5 4s, 4 6s. So it's fun. Basically, Gus with the bat, fun. Gus with the ball, fun. Give him loads of IPL deals and loads of money. So
he's got,
not worse at all.
He's got hand-eye, as they say, when summarising. Just to go through the other notable numbers of the day, Duckett made 40 before an outrageous shot that got him dismissed just before the lunch interval. We saw Harry Brook have his front pad blown off for 33, a nice piece of bowling from Asitha Fernando. Jamie Smith, 21, was the only other score above 20 until Potts made 20 not out late in the day. So it was lopsided with the Root century. Cam, the way that Root has just slotted in an absolute banker for like 1.5 centuries per series, if you know what I mean. Like he doesn't perform every week. No one does. But it's very rare that he does not make an impression on any series that he plays in now. And I'm always drawn to this conversation. Daniel and I had it earlier in the summer about where he might finish statistically and all the rest of it. But right now, it's been in the post-captaincy Joe Root era where he has numerically at least been his most productive, which is kind of weird given the last year he was captain. He was outstanding as well.
Yeah, I had to kind of check myself for a bit today because I had to remember that this was amazing to watch. It's so routine. We're so used to seeing Joe Root bat and churn. It's the same with the James Anderson effect in that I often didn't really value James Anderson enough because he was such a relentlessly consistent performer. And as someone who kind of clings on to moments as opposed to the whole, I kind of was like, oh, okay, James Anderson. And it's the same with Joe Root today, where he was just better than everyone else. This wasn't the most amazing century. People aren't going to go look back in years to come and be like, bloody hell, can you remember when he got 140 against Sri Lanka at Lords? But it was a perfect example of just his overriding and lasting quality. This was a day where England were 200 for 6. This was a day where they'd been sent into bat. Ultimately, this was a bowling day, or set up to be a bowling day, and he was the one player, until Atkinson had his fun later on, who kind of stood up in the batting lineup to save England feels too strong. But when you're 210 for 6 and one bloke's on 100 of them, like, it doesn't actually feel that too far away from being an accurate statement. It was a day of Joe Root cliches. You look up, he's on 30. He's turning the strike over. He looked ever so comfortable, apart from when he was on 99. And that was kind of the real moment of jeopardy in the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Zaltzman stat from TMS where he was converting 1 in every 4 50s, and then since 2021, 1 in every other 50. And look, it nearly came a cropper on 99. There was a fair bit of activity there, near run out and a bit else going on before he actually advanced to 3 figures. But yeah, the Root career arc is a wonderful one to follow, and he looks like he's playing with such joy as well when he brought up the century today. There's no histrionics. It's pretty, as you say, it's kind of like routine. And I think that's almost the nicest thing you can say about him, that he's hit 33 test hundreds, and who knows where he might be at the end. There's every reason to think 145 test matches. He pulled level with Alistair Cook today. There's no reason why he can't finish his career with 40-something test hundreds, which would be a staggering achievement, especially if he goes on to play 200 test matches, and the Tendulkar overall runs record feels within striking distance as well.
Well, it's literally more routine for him to score Test 100 than any other English player in history other than Alistair Cook. He went past Cook for the most runs ever scored in England this match. He tied him for 33 Test centuries. He's playing against spin. I think something that people don't appreciate when they watch the best batters play against spin is how more often they play spinners from length off the back foot than everyone else does. And so when Jayasuriya is bowling to him and he's basically just landing it on a length at 50 miles an hour, Joe Root is standing in his crease and just taking a step back and picking him off. He's got so much time. And that was what was really exciting or quite bizarre, in that when he got to 99, he was on 99 for 12 balls. And it was Zaltzman to get another name check. And he's on the show tomorrow. 3 in a row. He'd never been on 99 for more than 5 balls previously in his Test career. And this time he was on 99 for 12 deliveries. He faced an entire maiden from Kamaru, and then it took him basically another kind of 6 balls against Jayasuriya. It was all happening. It was bizarre. It was a bizarre moment where you were thinking how this is so out of keeping with his innings, and it was quite nice in a way, because although there were no histrionics when he made his 3 figures, I like the idea of when elite sports people still get nervous or they somehow change in one way or another when an intangible thing is up for grabs, basically. And that was the kind of human element of his innings today. And then to have a go at our other mate and a friend of the show, Ben Jones, I wanted to ask him, quick viz, when was the last time Joe Root faced 12 balls in a row? Was it this innings? When was it? And he didn't have an answer. He said, I can't find that for you. So
really?
Quick viz, get him gone. I sometimes work for them, so I love them. Please keep employing me. But
I think it's the sort of thing where if you send a little WhatsApp to Andrew Sampson, it's the sort of thing he might be able to dig out for you. But yeah, with your tennis background, and by that I mean when you were a ball kid at Wimbledon, you would have seen many tennis players reach match point or championship point, and it takes them 6 or 7 or 8. And it was analogous to what we saw from Root today. Interested that you picked up on that stoush that he was having with Prabhat Jayasuriya through the duration of his long spell, especially after lunch. Most of the period of play that I was able to watch in depth was that where Jayasuriya has extraordinary control. Look, finger spinners are meant to at that level. But the deliberate approach that he makes to the crease, the fact that he almost stops before bowling it, clearly enhances how much control that he has. He doesn't rely too much on dip or prodigious turn, although we did see a couple turn square last week at Old Trafford. It's varying his pace, and that Root is so equal to it that he's able to adjust in his crease. He played one sterling sweep shot early on off him, which, mere mortals are probably finding it hard to even reach that, but he's middling it, clattering it down the slope towards the tavern stand. And this is an exercise in experience and confidence, and Jayasuriya might be, I think he's in his 18th test match, an unlikely test career, but he's already one of the best finger spinners in the world. That was no B-list event today. That was 2 serious guns up against each other.
Jai Surya, that bloke's taking club wickets till he's 80. He doesn't move. He just bowls off one step and like just lands it on the spot, and it's like fizzing away. I think it's like half the balls he bowled. I'm very statistically minded today. I've just been overloaded by information. It was like half the balls he bowled today were hitting the stumps. And an example of Root's kind of dominance over him eventually was he swapped over to bowling left arm over, and it was rubbish. It was so it like started dropping short a bit, and Root was just kind of like swatting him through square leg ball. But until that moment, they had this kind of wonderful kind of battle going on, where I do think Root was kind of winning out on the whole. But Jai Surya, I do want to add though, this is my most strongly held opinion that I know is incorrect. So I think if you bowl left arm finger spin and you're not a professional cricketer, you're a failure. Why are you ever bowling a bad ball? Well, you have control. You're turning it away from the bat. You should never bowl a bad ball ever. So what I'm actually saying is Jai Surya, bang average, and everyone should be as good as him.
Yeah, if only you and I could bowl to left-handers all the time, it would be a different life,
exactly.
wouldn't it? I mean, I know you bowl around the wicket anyway, but in fact, Rach was up at me earlier when I was in the living room trying to work out whether I could bowl like Jai Surya. I was imitating his run up. I'm like, can I just like walk in and just stop at the crease? Could I do that? Might I try that tomorrow when I play a game? I'm playing over in, I don't know, somewhere in the West Country tomorrow against Andy Caddick's old club. A Taverners game. Will I try that on that there? Who's to know? Maybe I will. Let's go to the start of the day before we go back to Hall of Fame and all the rest of it. It was the Kumara introduction that picked up Dan Lawrence within, I think it was 4 deliveries. The extra yard that he brings, whenever he plays, he's always going to be up and at you. Picked up a wicket early, picked up a wicket with a short ball, but I mean, I understand the logic behind why Lawrence has played this series, and I'm not going to question the rationale behind getting him in, having spent so much time on the sidelines. But I do feel for him a little bit as well. Like, I wish that Lawrence just got his chance to bat at 6. In a way, I wish Cox played this series and that they went with a more conventional lineup with one fewer bowler, and that Lawrence was walking out at number 6 today and getting the chance to dominate a slightly older ball. In the end, England didn't quite get that right today. Smith fell relatively early. Wokes was out inside the first 10 minutes after getting to the crease. I would have loved to have seen Lawrence in that situation and not being asked to do a role that isn't completely foreign to him. It's not like he's never done it when he played for Essex, but it's been a long time since he's been a first-class opener. Now doing it at Test level, it isn't giving him, shall we say, the best chance to dominate.
No, it's not. Like Lawrence isn't meant to score loads of runs here. That's not the game. If Lawrence scores loads of runs here, England have a test situation that they had with the white ball with Davin Milan, where it was like, shit, we don't actually want to pick this guy in this position, but they're putting miles into the legs. If Lawrence can go fine in the remaining 3 innings, this allows them to not take an extra opener to Pakistan. It means that we can just fiddle around with our squad. Lawrence can come in and bat there if he needs to be and roll out some offies. Yes, of course, it's frustrating and not fair, but as you said, Lawrence started out as an opener like way back when. I don't know how much he did professionally, but that was kind of his role growing up. He's batted 3 heaps of time. It's not an alien position to him. I think had Cox played, you'd have had a bizarre scenario where Cox would have come in at 6 for Ben Stokes. So it would have been whether you then swapped that back over and you said, Cox, actually, it's you as the newbie have to open the batting, because it'd be really unfair if you're Dan Lawrence and you've waited 16 matches for a go. Then they say, can you open the batting? And then the lad who's behind you in the pecking order gets to bat where you want to bat. But I just think the Lawrence situation is going to work itself out. And if he nicks off 3 more times, then they'll go, right, we might need to take Keaton Jennings or insert any other opener's name here for Pakistan. But hopefully, I think England just hoping, just get enough runs that we can use you as a substitute without being a long-term solution.
So for Sri Lanka, Asitha Fernando picked up a couple. It was quite an even day from their seamers, really, like 2 for 84, 2 for 80, 2 for 75, and Jai Surya 1 for 81 with Kamindia Mendez bowling a few overs there with the older balls. So they've got miles in the legs. They bowled 88 overs. They caught up on their fucking over rate. At one stage, they bowled 27 overs by 158. So that said a lot about the majority of the overs that Prabha Jai Surya bowled were after that. Mentioned before that Brooke got a good one from Asitha that was given out leg before on the ground, and it was clipping, therefore it went with umpire's call. Root had the other side of it where he enjoyed the luck of it being given not out on the field, and it was umpire's call that went with him. So that's just part of the game, I suppose. The 2 air quotes failures, Pope, interestingly again, I mean, you could say that Duckett and Pope and Lawrence all contributed to the dismissals early on, the first 3 to 4 for England. But let's just go through them out of order. Why don't we start with Ollie Pope and where he's at? Because having taken the armband last week, I mean, he'd be desperate to make an impression in this series, but yet to do so after 3 hits.
My heart dropped for Pope when he got out today, because he's got out early enough and sillily enough that every journalist in the press box can go, that's an easy 800 words.
Easy story.
And away you go. It was a weird, of those 3 dismissals, like Pope's, in my opinion, is kind of way out in front. Ben Duckett getting out reverse sweeping. Ben Duckett sweeps everything, so like shit happens, whatever. Dan Lawrence isn't an opener. He's got out nicking off one, like dragging outside off stump. What do you expect is going to happen? Ollie Pope, in this kind of context of overall, he is doing absolutely fine at number 3. Again, Ben Jones, second name check of the day, put this tweet out yesterday about he's kind of averaging, it's only like Gower and Trott who've averaged more at number 3 than he has in that number of innings. And since he started, the only people who've averaged more than him or done better than him or in that position are Labuschagne and Kane Williamson. Like, he's doing fine, leave him alone. But the problem with those numbers are, when we're talking about averages, is that he kind of bookmarks his career with these like generational innings, aka Hyderabad 196. And so when the flip side comes around and he has this kind of frenetic when it's going badly, busy when it's going well, starts and style to his innings, you can very quickly get very caught up in your own confirmation bias with Pope. So today, he's tried to pull a ball off a length and he's got himself in an absolute mess. Like, if he gets that ball away, you're like, this is why you can't bowl to Ollie Pope, because you can bowl a length and he'll pick you off the top of the stumps and whack you through mid-wicket. As it happens, he gets the top edge and it's not great. I'll go as far as to say it's bad.
Yeah, it was ugly. And look, I take your point. Leave Ollie alone. It's like the old leave Britney alone. Probably the first meme was that, wasn't it? Years ago, probably 2005 or probably before you were born.
I agree.
It means nothing to you. Leave Britney alone means nothing to you. But yeah, I get it. Like, I get the leave Ollie alone argument. But I also understand why there's always one player in every top 6 under pressure. I would have said it 50 times on this podcast over the years.
That's fine.
There's always one player in every top 6, and it just happens to be that the acting captain is right now that guy, and that's the way it goes sometimes. Yeah. So, and that's okay, because he'll get to bat number 3 more times in the series, and then they'll go to Pakistan, who he picked anyway. Yeah. He's the vice captain. He's not getting dropped. It's more that there's always scrutiny on the way it's going for him. And you look, this wash over the Duckett thing to a point, because he does play the sweep all day. Still didn't feel to me like it had the most, at some level. At some part of you needs to think about the lunch break at that point, do you not? Like, at some deeper level, and I know they don't think that way. This isn't the way this team's hardwired, but I love the way this England team play. I've thought Duckett's return to the Test side over the last couple of years has been one of the most enjoyable things of the whole Bazball era, and the confidence to play that he plays, and to come out the other side of last year during the Ashes when the Aussies thought they had a walking wicket, and him having a big effect on the England wins at Leeds and at the Oval. That's where they won, wasn't it? Yeah, Leeds in the Oval, and playing other good innings at Lords as well, a couple of 80-odds. But I do still think that you've got to look at the clock at some point and realise that the balance of probability, you are going to be a little bit fatigued. Getting 30 minutes of feet down, something to eat, plenty of fluids, you're more likely to succeed after the break. But it's improbable they will ever care too much about that. Cam, we're going to take a break. Then we're going to go to the Final Word Hall of Fame. It's the Final Word Daily. Adam Collins, Cam Ponsonby in London, where this second test is being played. And our coverage, as always, on this program is for Westfield London and Westfield Stratford City. Right, let's see how we go here. E, L, and N. What do these 3 letters stand for? Ex-enemies Liam and Noel, Ed Giddens, Liam Plunkett, and Neil Fairbrother. Well, at Westfield London, it stands for Eat, Live, and Nourish. The self-described world's most Instagrammable cafe, that's a fucking big call, E-L-N is now open at Westfield London. And if you like your fake foliage on the wall, neon signage, and more pink than a 40-something divorcee Spotify algorithm, you'll love this place. Enjoy breakfast, lunch, and dinner that'll drive your taste buds almost as wild as your social media followers will be with jealousy looking at your photos. So it's called E-L-N. I must say, Cam, it's not really what I'm across, and I appreciate the Oasis reference off the top. I'm still thinking about whether I buy tickets or not. I can't quite work that out, whether that's the right thing for me to do or not. I probably will. I don't know how you feel about this.
Absolutely, you have to go.
I think I will. Yeah. They're not without. Anyway, we'll talk about Oasis probably on the weekly show at some point. But ELNN, it's a thing. The world's most Instagrammable cafe.
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone else should go. No, I think everyone else should go to this cafe. I can safely say that I actually, you were reading it, and I was like, I hate this place. I don't want to go there at all. It was like nourished. I was like, this isn't for me. But I think that you guys listening and watching should absolutely go, and then reference the final word, and then we'll go. Basically.
Yeah, well, Westfield London's the one that's out at Shepherd's Bush, so maybe you've been out at Carnival or something like that in West London this weekend. You can take in some fluids, you can take in some electrolytes at ELNN, Westfield London, the taste of social media. Cam, I can hear Winnie yelling for me downstairs. It's just going to be a final word nomination of the Hall of Fame for you, then we'll get out of here.
Cool. Very quick twofer from me. One, that if Gus Atkinson gets 26 more runs tomorrow, he'll equal the record for the least number of test matches to be on both honours boards at Lords with 2. And that will equal the record with Ian Botham and Vinu Mankad. And second,
love it.
There we go. And then second one was quite a funny thing today when Dan Lawrence nicked off. Dan Lawrence, captain of London Spirit, who of course play at Lords, he walked off in the direction of the dugouts before realising where he was and peeled back round to the pavilion. So that was a fun little tidbit.
Yeah, is that not a nice little vignette about the nature of modern cricket moving from franchise to test and the state of the game and the game as we now know it? Thank you, Cam. We'll be back tomorrow with you and Andy Zaltzman. That's going to be fun. Treat. And then it's Norcross back later in the week, back from his holiday and all the rest of it. The only other thing I would note in Hall of Fame, Lords looked a little bit on the sort of empty side today, did it not? Not empty, but, I know they sold out all these tickets. Lawrence Booth was on the show with us in April in the Wisden Cricketers Almanac. This was sold out in October last year, so I'm not blaming anyone, or I'm not suggesting anything untoward, but isn't it kind of interesting that even in a sellout circumstance that there are still tickets on day 4? Apparently, according to Nick Holt, only 7,000 sold. Yeah. That is the knock-on effect to the market driver of baseball, is it not? Who would buy a 140 quid ticket or whatever the minimum ticket is these days to see day 4 of an England test right now? That's not smart for anyone to do, I don't think.
That's a very fair point. I hadn't thought about it that way. And the only other thing I was going to say was the Nick Holt piece and 7,000 for day 4. So I've got nothing more to add.
Yeah, it's something to watch with this England team and keep an eye on as we go. Okay, we've been here for Westfield London, Westfield Stratford City, England in a commanding position. Thank you, Cam. We'll talk tomorrow. Bye.